Hello, hello. Hope you guys doing fantastic today. This is going to be the leveling guide for the Holy Fire Paladin. Some people asked me if I'm going to make a leveling guide. I don't want to say that. I don't want to call it like a leveling guide. It is going to be, but it's mostly going to be like a bunch of tips. But there's few things to talk about, so I wanted to make the whole video and talk about everything at the same time. First of all, I did some small changes, small upgrades to the other builds, and I do believe I uploaded the current POBs on my previous videos, so if you want to, you can check them out. For example, I put gems in the right places, right? Everything is in the correct place now. I changed few things and added flesh and stone. This requires you to. This is like a medium budget, about 25 divines version, but you need corrupted crown of ice for that, right? With succotated skill gems, get 90% cost reservation multiplier. So otherwise, it's going to be tough to fit it, to like fit everything. And Enlighten 3, but fit flesh and stone. I fit in. You could, for example, go for Arctic armor if you want, or if you have different ideas, feel free to do whatever you want. There is other things you can do. For example, you could drop determination if you felt like you're tanking enough, and add haste for more speed. Damage wise, it's nothing special, but more speed is like always something. On a build that has 75% block chance, 24,000 armor would probably still feel okay with flesh and stone, especially, and fortify, and 7 endurance charges. Something tells me that will feel okay, so you could do that, but the world is your oyster. Other than that, there's 4 different versions of the build at this point. The basically gear right out of campaign, like literally one chaos gear everywhere. Then there's the low budget, this version, and then there is, I made yesterday, a version for people that want to just play, for example, one build and want to push this build to, basically being able to one-shot everything in the game. This version of the build is about 110 million Shaper DPS. Of course, much more expensive gear. Many of these items are still cheap, by the way, but for example, I have double corrupted Crusader, Iron Fortress. Gauntlets are more or less the same, but I added some more chaos resistance and better implicits. This is still the same. I added simplex. Don't worry about that. This is, I just found a simplex in trade and like copied it and put it in there. This is not an upgrade that necessarily, gives you a lot of damage, because if you compare that to Zov's Blood, and keep in mind that Zov's Blood will give you enemy covered in ash, the boost of damage is not that ridiculous. It's like a 10% you get from like insane simplex. So the difference is not even that massive. So you could, for example, totally keep Zov's Blood like for all the versions of the build. But if you wanted to have something insane later on that will give you even more health and damage, then I guess simplex is the option. Then 2 helical rings, which with extra stats from Calandra's reflection. I know you can get even better than these, and you can find something that will have negative stats that don't affect your build. But I just put something like that in here for now. Whatever, right? That's just for the showcase. Mage Blood and flasks for resistances. So at this point, as you can see, on the high budget, this is about 500 divine budget, right? Maybe 400. I don't know what the prices will be this league, but this event, but about that much. And as you can see, this at this point gets very, very powerful. You could push it even further technically if you wanted to remodel this build a little bit and added more cluster jewels. I added only one cluster jewel with attack speed, effect of small passive nodes, maximum life and strength, and that's it, right? One cluster jewel and a single node gives you like 3% damage basically. So like, that's the power of cluster jewels later on in the game. But yeah, getting one like that shouldn't be like that big of a problem, right? But yeah, that's it. Very tanky at this point. You're sitting at 7 endurance charges, 90 all res, 75 block, no spell block chance or spell suppression, but you have massive life pool and regeneration. So with 90 all res and fortify and 7 endurance charges, I feel like this build would still be incredibly tanky, especially that you one-shot everything at this point, right? So that's something that I wanted to mention for people that want to push this one build. This build is totally capable of doing so. This could be your starter all the way to the to the godhood or whatever you want to call it. Now, jumping back to the absolute dumpster gear, this is what it is. Let's talk about items first, right? So Brutus, I still put Brutus in there. Honestly, with like dumpster gear, it doesn't really matter if you're going to have Brutus or like a rare sword, because your damage is going to get to be carried by the relics, right? This is why we have Paladin. So your flat damage is going to be very high no matter what. So Brutus, technically, I still put it in there because this is a 1 chaos unique. As I mentioned before, I started the league with this, not exact this character, because I usually start with Jug, but I started many times in the past with this character and with this archetype, and Brutus at the start of the league is always 1, maximum 2 chaos. So you can get it literally during campaign, Act 4, Act 5, you're gonna get Brutus, right? You just find your first Chaos Orb, you exchange for this nice little mace scepter, and there you go. So Brutus here, and then after that you literally have items that you would find during campaign. During campaign you can find better items actually. I mean, this is like, okay, this is like whatever, like not deafening, but like screaming or whatever essence for strength, right? I forgot its name. Rage. I haven't played PoE1 in like 6-7 months now, so since like the settler started. So that being said, also this is a 5 link. Just keep in mind this is not a 6 link. So items really like just the lowest of the lowest. This unique is always 1 chaos, so you can buy it for 1 chaos. Also, instead of trying to find boots or anything like that, this will totally suffice, and you're going to be fine with it. And yeah, just I just keep on going. It's just like literally like 1-2 chaos items, right? And the damage is already not atrocious. The damage is around 1,300,000, something like this, 1.3, 1.4. So already it's not horrible. Also jewels, keep in mind that jewels are actually relatively important. The faster you're going to buy jewels with attack speed, the more smooth the build is going to feel. But that's it when it comes to items. I'm going to just mention one thing. If you look at this damage, right, we're going to allocate these 3 points into Iron Will, and I'm just going to talk about real fast about upgrades that you're supposed to do and in what order. First upgrade that you're supposed to do in this build is Crown of Ice, right? Because Crown of Ice gives us all the strength that we're stacking is actually starts working thanks to Crown of Ice, because we get these conversions, right? And on top of that, this strength starts working at 150% efficiency of compared to normal efficiency. So Crown of Ice, first upgrade, it shouldn't be expensive. I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 chaos, who knows, right? But it shouldn't be very expensive. Most people that use Crown of Ice, that would want to use Crown of Ice, play Whisperer, and Whisperer gets Crown of Ice for free. So something tells me that it does not have to be like very, very expensive. We will see. I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to be a smartass, but buying this item, which shouldn't be very expensive, your first upgrade, and all of a sudden you drop you skyrocket to 3 million. Shaper. This is Shaper, by the way. Shaper DPS. It will be much more against just like a regular monsters, right? And boom. And another upgrade besides something obvious like a 6 link, right? Which, let's just say like your next upgrade is like a 6 link, right? Like, I don't know, Awakened Fire Pen or Fire Pen or whatever we want. Alley Pen is also very good because we get damage from relics early on. And your next upgrade probably would be, besides just improving your overall equipment in these slots, would be Wrathpit's Globe. And Wrathpit's Globe is another 60% more damage. So as you can see, just upgrading these two uniques will basically quadruple your damage, and I think that campaign should feel smooth slash very smooth just because of relics. And once you start earning any type of currency, you just get Crown of Ice. Excuse me. You more than double your damage with Crown of Ice, and then you get another 60-70% more damage from Wrath Pits, and you're done. Like at this point, your damage is enough to like clear tier 16s probably, and just have fun, right? And then just gradually improve your equipment over and over. But let's get into tree. I'm going to showcase you like more or less like where you're supposed to go to for the build to feel good, so that you're not in a situation where I don't know, you have 70% accuracy and you don't know what to do about it, right? All right, so we're going to start here. By the way, there is going to be small changes depending on if you have Brutus or not. If you don't have Brutus, then it would not be a bad idea to add, for example, nodes like these, right? Because this will increase damage while holding a shield. Once you have Brutus and Crown of Ice, these don't really matter because you get all of your percent damage from strength and the conversion. So strength and conversion and Wrath Pit's Globe, like, but in total, I'm just going to show real fast. In total, this will give you, let's just say, like a mid-budget, right? How much damage we get from this? In total, we have 1700% increased, right? So that's how much. We get 930% increased damage from strength and 650% from Wrath Pit's Globe. So at this point, if you have these items, going for increases on the tree doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant, right? But before these items, it's definitely a smart idea to wrong tree. Definitely smart idea to on your way to get nodes like these, which are going to be very efficient, right? Because this is 36% increased damage, and this increased damage, it's all damage. It is going to work with relics, which are elemental damage, right? So you want to, generally speaking, avoid taking something like increased physical damage, because that will not work on your relics. But you definitely want to early on invest into some percent global damage, like this, for example, over here, is going to be very useful, right? So yeah, we're going here through attack speed. There's one small choice. There's going to be many small choices that you will have to make. For example, you can invest into these two nodes for attack speed. You can invest into these two nodes for life and armor. Your choice. Attack speed is king, in my opinion. Attack speed is better because it allows you to move faster, so I decided to go for attack speed. Art of Gladiator, Bravery, Master of the Arena, we all obviously take all very strong like starting nodes. Then we go down. Forget about jewels if you in the beginning, before like you have jewels at all, right? Like, just don't invest into jewel sockets, just skip them. You can still take endurance charge, but like this one, I'm not sure if during campaign is that worth it anyway, because that is 3 points just to get this endurance charge. So you can, for example, just skip this completely and just keep on going here, right? Resistances. One thing that you're going to notice soon, most likely, is that I usually like to build my league starters in a way that I get very solid amount of resistances from the tree. That is extremely useful for a league starter, because that frees up a lot. Not only it allows you to use uniques pretty early on if they're cheap, but also it allows you to like have like a little bit of lenience, right? You don't need to worry about, oh, I need resistance here, I need resistance here. I think that people are sleeping on resistance notables and resistance nodes, especially if when they're planning their league starters, because resistance nodes not only come with resistances, usually they also come with other useful stats, like this one, for example, with a lot of extra evasion rating and armor, right? Here we get resistances and evasion rating and armor, which is going to be very useful for us, right? Because we actually have decent amount of armor. So resistances, generally speaking, if you see on a tree in a spot where it's achievable for you to get to, very nice idea. You can definitely go for it, and you're not going to regret it in most cases. So this tree has very solid amount of resistances, which you're gonna find out soon enough. So a lot of resistance that you would normally have to get on your gear is already solved. So you can, and this is important additionally because we're strength stacking. So usually our suffixes are going to be taken for the most part. So yeah, this will help you, and this is going to be extremely helpful for newer players as well because they will not have to worry about resistances that much. So we're going here. Obviously, the jewel socket. Don't take it if you don't have any jewel. We're going here to get some more attack speed. Very nice. And non-vol strikes here. Blah, 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 one additional nearby enemy. Uh, sorry, it's freaking. It's a long name, so I just try to whatever. You before you get this on your. I mean, you should still get this. The only situation where you want to drop this completely is when you have your +2 on your gloves, and that's going to be late game because it's not a cheap thing. So this you can keep pretty much forever, and then you get after you get like during maps when you find already some currency, you can get +1 on your gauntlets, and you're totally fine. You don't need more on smite because smite the way vol smite works is that when you vol smite, your base smite becomes stronger, and your base smite will target more enemies. So it's super nice this way. So yeah, resistances here with a jewel socket. Once again, if you do not have jewels, just skip the jewel or maybe even these two nodes, and then get some life. Then we're going here, getting this life and accuracy. Accuracy is going to be important. When it comes to accuracy, one thing I can tell you is that if you want to, there is a very nice cluster over here that will completely solve your accuracy problems and at the same time give you a solid amount of critical strike chance. So this is something you can totally invest into if you want. And for example, even these 3 points instead of these two, although I very much like these two because they give you movement speed and 20 dex and int, which is useful especially early on. So I don't like to drop these, but if you're ever going to struggle with accuracy, there's a very nice cluster here that you can invest into. Then we're going here, getting the mastery, 1 armor plus per 2 strength. This is going to be a very massive amount of armor, especially later on like more expensive versions of the build when you get 2500 strength or more. And we get over here strength. Normally I would invest into fortify, but like this is like a campaign-ish tree. During campaign, you're not really going to need that. Like, let's be honest. After campaign, when you start mapping, yes, absolutely, you should invest into that and get your permanent fortify. I mean, permanent while you hit something, right? With additional regeneration, I think that these nodes are very good and they work together very nice with the ascendancy together and the fact that we get very massive amount of regeneration later on. But yeah. One thing I mentioned also I forgot to mention is that I only have 3 points on my ascendancy here. I didn't take Uber Lab, so we don't have consecrated ground. With consecrated ground, actually like pretty much right off the bat, right off the campaign, right after the Uber Lab, we're going to have like some devastating amount of life regen, right? We're talking like 1500 up to 2k or something like this. So regen on this build is very nice. Then endurance charge, we can invest into that very quickly because after the campaign we just start using endurance cry and we're going to get our endurance charges, right? The jewel socket later on. Here, barbarism, more resistance and life. Rage, this is our rage generation. If that's not going to be enough, then what you do is you drop this intimidate and you use this, right? And whatever you war cry, the way you do it is that you stop generating rage in a map, right? And like 2 seconds passed and you're like, oh, I started losing rage, right? This is when you pop your war cry, your rage goes up again, and the degen stops from going further, and then you get to the pack. This is an easy way to keep your rage up very high very often. Then we're going this way, getting the endurance charge with the jewel socket. Again, same story. If you don't have it, don't pick it up. This cluster absolutely insane. Brutus is so crazy that even without corruption and without anything, it has base 10% critical extractions. Base 10%. So a cluster like this is going to give you absolutely insane amount of critical extractions, crit multi, and like everything, right? So this is insane. One thing I didn't mention is that before you get this cluster, before you get to this point, it's probably not a good idea to have increased critical damage support, right? Before that, you probably want something else here, like I don't know, Elipan, anything like fire penetration, roofless, whatever you want, right? Anything is better. Inspiration will be totally fine. Inspiration will be great, actually. You could take inspiration instead, and then you should get critical strike damage after you get your crit to a reasonably high spot. This for reservation, this is mandatory in order for you to keep everything. We're going to talk about skill gems in a second. And then this cluster over here, and that's pretty much it. Of course, when it comes to passive tree or anything like that, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is my first time doing like a leveling guide for like PoE1, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn like what I can do better and how I can share the knowledge better. So let me know in the comments, and I'm going to try to answer everything as well as I can. All right, and we're going to get to skills. Smite. You want to get Vol Smite as quickly as possible, right? Quality on Vol Smite is very important. One thing I think I mentioned yesterday is that later on you can get Vol Smite of Divine Judgment. This clears. This, generally speaking, has a little bit less damage. Not much, but it clears like crazy. It has insane clear and from very high distance also. So if you prefer to have way like bigger clear compared to slightly higher damage, then you can totally go for Val Smite of Divine Judgment. It usually shouldn't be too expensive, right? And then we want multi-strike, LA focus. We don't really care about applying. Wait, hold on. Things have changed because we have Wrath Aura. Ooh, LA focus. I don't know how strong our shocks would be, but we crit all the time almost. Ooh, maybe I made a mistake with the LA focus. Maybe we should add something else here. We have many good options, right? We could add LE pan. We could add critical strike damage. Like not having LE focus is not really a problem. But it seems like I actually just realized like a small upgrade that we could get for even more damage, which I thought that this build already has actually insane amount for this budget. But hey, I'm going to work on POBs after I upload the video, so after we're done here. So yeah, inspiration is fine, LE damage with attacks is fine, elemental penetration, something like that. Early on, you could even, I don't know, add faster attacks before you have like any attack speed. Faster attacks would work actually pretty nice early on, so something to keep in mind. The Molten, cast more damage taken with Molten Shell, that's a very nice shield with the amount of armor we have, almost max. Blood Rage, Wave of Conviction, this you can completely drop once you get your fire exposure on your gloves, because it works way better. At the same time, that will free one slot here, and maybe I'm going to think about what I can do with this. Leap Slam with faster attacks and Rage, fair enough. Rage also helps your rage generation at the same time. Of course, you can use Shield Charge as well. The world is your oyster, right? Whichever you prefer more. I prefer Leap Slam, but it is what it is. Enduring Cry with Urgent Orders and more duration. That means that your Enduring Cry is going to last for 5 seconds, and the cooldown 40% cooldown from the quality means that it's going to be up almost all the time if you want to use it constantly. That being said, with Enduring Cry with Paladin, and that gives us Warcry's F infinite power, you will be able to keep your endurance charges constantly all the time. So that's permanent 7 endurance charges, and that is very powerful. 7 with corruption on Alberon Warpath. Otherwise, it's going to be 6. But this corruption is going to be insanely cheap to get because these boots drop all the time, so this shouldn't be a problem. Vitality, Vitality, Precision, Arrogance here. If you don't want Vitality, you don't have to use it. It's going to be plus 450 life for you, but minus 250 regen. As you're going to notice here, for example, on my mid-budget version, this is about 25 divines. The regen goes up to 2300. So do you want that extra regeneration? Is that really mandatory, or would you prefer 450 life? It's up to you, right? Of course, if you're going to drop this at the same time, that means that you will get additional link, which is nice. Additional like gem socket, which is very nice because you could do something with it. But that's going to be your choice. Then we have Purity of Elements, Determination. Purity of Elements is underrated, in my opinion, extremely underrated. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe community thinks that this spell is amazing, but I do think that this spell is amazing. And every time I make a build that is not like super gimmicky and stuff like that, I try to fit in Purity of Elements always. It's insane how good the elemental resistances and immunity to all element at the same time are. You just that is such an amazing quality of life. It truly is. And many people don't realize that elements are not are not only like fire, cold, and like shock, ignite, freeze, and chill. There's also some stupid garbage that, for example, delirium monsters have. They will sap you sometimes. They will like scorch you, stuff like that. So there is more ailments. There's 6 of them. So it's not super popular, right? But it happens sometimes. So purity of elements is, in my opinion, in my book, absolutely mandatory. And I prefer to use my auras for defenses and then try to get offense somewhere else. That's how I do things. It's not always like that, but usually it is. Then we have Assassin's Mark with Mark on Head. This is a very important combo because this will allow us to generate power charges more efficiently and also give us massive damage multiplier. Massive damage multiplier. It's just going to give us a lot of crit and critical strike multiplier against bosses, and also allow us to generate power charges against bosses at the same time. We have another tool that allows us to generate power charges is Pain Forger, and I know from experience that in mapping, you will have permanently maximum power charges, right? Because you stun white monsters all the time, and this will just add up, right? You will get your power charges pretty fast with this, and at the same time you will get more power charges with Assassin's Mark. Random rare monster is going to appear on the screen. You're gonna hit him. He's gonna get assassin marked. He's gonna die, and he's going to give you a guaranteed power charge. So that's very nice, in my opinion. Very, very good. If you decided to like go for +1 curse or something like that, you could do that, and you could anoint +1 curse instead of Way of the Warrior. This is still an anointment, right? Yeah, it's Whispers of Doom. And for example, you could use Elemental Weakness, which would be massive damage multiplier actually. Or you could use like a ring with like curse on hit or something like that. It's just there are options to push the damage even further if you really wanted to, right? Which I'm going to go over. I'm going to keep on updating my path of buildings, all 4 versions. This one seems excuse me. This one seems about right. I don't know what else. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not an expert when it comes to leveling, because I always I just do the campaign and I don't think about it. So it took a little bit of effort to do this. Not really much, but I had to think about what I have to say. Usually I just just freaking rapid fire and say everything just from the head. But yeah, it is what it is. If you're going to have any questions, guys, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'm going to try to read everything as always. And that's going to be it. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload another video tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to upload a video tomorrow, and I'm going to showcase my another project that I have. We will see. I'm not sure. We'll see. Like, depending on if I'm going to have time, right? So, thank you very much for watching, guys. See you next time.